Hi aspirants, welcome to another lecture. In this lecture number 29, I will discuss the topic Disaster Management Part 6. This lecture will highlight the mechanisms for preparedness to reduce the risk in the wake of the recent cyclones, that is Cyclone Torte and Cyclone Yas, which have wreaked havoc in western and eastern coast respectively. This might be a probable question GS Mains Paper 3 2021. Please listen to this lecture till the end. As you can recall, Cyclone Torte, initially classified as extremely severe, the cyclone made landfall in Gujarat state with wind speeds of up to 160 kilometers per hour. Winds have ravaged coastal areas in the western state of Gujarat, uprooting trees and electricity poles. As the cyclone approached, it brought in its wake heavy rains and gusty winds. Similarly, Cyclone Yash, which intensified into a very severe cyclonic storm, hit the states of West Bengal and Odisha, as well as lashing southern Bangladesh. This is the second cyclone to hit the country in a week after Cyclone Torte. Cyclone Torte and Cyclone Yash come at a time when India has been battling a devastating second wave of COVID-19 infections and healthcare systems are already overworked. Now we will discuss the different mitigation strategies and the organizations responsible for handling this kind of a disaster. First, let us discuss National Cyclone Risk Mitigation Project Initiative. Recurrent cyclones account for a large number of deaths, loss of livelihood opportunities, loss of public and private property, and severe damage to infrastructure, thus reversing the developmental gains whenever disasters occur. In order to reduce the loss of life and properties in the events of future calamities, the National Cyclone Risk Mitigation Project has been launched by Ministry of Home Affairs in 3 phases in the cyclone-prone coastal states and Union territories, keeping in view the vulnerability of the states and their readiness. Now, National Cyclone Risk Mitigation Project, we are going to discuss the aim, the outcome, execution authority, and what are the principal components. First, the aim. What is the aim of National Cyclone Risk Mitigation Project? The scheme aims to upgrade cyclone forecasting, tracking, and warning systems, build capacity in multi-hazard risk management, and to construct mature infrastructures including multi-purpose cyclone shelters and embankments. Outcome: the project is expected to benefit people where cyclone strikes or occurs. Execution authority. The National Disaster Management Authority, that is NDMA, has been designated as the implementing agency. The scheme is regularly monitored by NDMA and Ministry of Home Affairs. What are the principal components of National Cyclone Risk Mitigation Project? The major components under the scheme are as follows. First is community mobilization and training. Second, cyclone risk mitigation infrastructure, that is construction of cyclone shelters, roads, missing links, and construction and repair of saline embankments, etc. Third is technical assistance for capacity building on disaster risk management, that is risk assessment, damage, and need assessment. Fourth is capacity building and knowledge creation along with project management and implementation support. Now we will discuss another project by the title Integrated Coastal Zone Management Project. In short, it is ICZMP. The Government of India, under the aegis of Ministry of Environment and Forests, has launched the Integrated Coastal Zone Management Project. The objective of the project is to assist the Government of India in building the national capacity for implementation of a comprehensive coastal management approach in the country and piloting the integrated coastal zone management approach in states of Gujarat, Orissa and West Bengal. There are four components of this project. First is capacity building. It includes mapping, delineation and demarcation of the hazard lines and delineation of coastal sediment cells all along the mainland coast of India. Second is piloting approaches in states like Gujarat. This component will support capacity building of the state level agencies and institutions, including preparation of an ICZM plan for the coastal sediment cell that includes the Gulf of Kutch and pilot investments. Similar pilots have been taken up in Orissa and West Bengal. Piloting ICZM approach in Orissa provides for capacity building of the state level agencies and institutions, including preparation of an ICZM plan for the coastal sediment cells that include the stretches of Paradip, Dhamra and Gopalpur Chilika, including a regional coastal processes study and pilot investments. Similarly, this approach is being piloted in West Bengal as well. Now, how we do forecasting and warning of cyclones? IMD, Indian Meteorological Department, is the nodal agency of the country to monitor and predict the cyclonic disturbances and issue the warning and advisory bulletins. IMD New Delhi also acts as a regional specialized meteorological center for providing tropical cyclone advisories to the World Meteorological Organization and Economic and Social Cooperation for Asia and the Pacific panel members countries, that is Bangladesh, Myanmar, Thailand, Sri Lanka, Maldives, Pakistan and Oman. IMD New Delhi also works as a tropical cyclone advisory center for international civil aviation as per the requirement of International Civil Aviation Organization. The cyclone warning are issued to state government officials in 4 stages. First, pre-cyclone watch issued 72 hours in advance. Second, cyclone alert issued at least 48 hours in advance. Third, cyclone warning issued at least 24 hours in advance. And fourth, as post-landfall outlook issued at least 12 hours in advance of expected time of landfall. IMD has prepared roadmap for cyclone genesis and further intensification, monitoring and prediction. Now, how we adopt the preparedness strategy. First, there is an annual conference of relief commissioners and secretaries of states and union territories. An annual conference of relief commissioners, secretaries to the Department of Disaster Management of the states and union territories is organized before the onset of southwest monsoon to review the status of preparedness for ensuing monsoon and to discuss other disaster management related issues. The representatives of various central ministries, organizations rendering emergency support functions, besides representatives of central paramilitary forces, also participate. Second is issue of guidelines. These are the preparedness measures. Issue of guidelines. Necessary guidelines in the form of checklist as given, and necessary preparatory measures are issued in the state for their guidance and appropriate action. Instructions are also issued for creating reserves of essential items required during rescue and relief phase. What are the guidelines of preparedness and response? The checklist for preparedness by state and district agency is as follows. First is vulnerability assessment. Second, dissemination of warning. Third, emergency response activities. Fourth, coordination. Fifth, rapid damage assessment. Sixth, maintenance of essential services. Seventh, stocking of essential commodities. Eighth, medicines. Ninth, drinking water. 10, shelter and camps. 11, pre-contract. 12th is evacuation plan. 13 is activating control rooms. 14 is search and rescue team. 15 is communication. 16 is identification of nodal officer. 16 is the status of STRF. And 17th is preparedness drill. So these are the checklists for preparedness by state and district agencies. Now we move to another initiative which is known as trigger mechanism. This mechanism has been developed to activate the disaster response system automatically after receiving warning signals of a disaster happening or likely to happen, or on receipt of information about the incident. The responders are required to undertake activities as per the standard operating procedures issued in respect of such disasters. There may be scenario where early warning signals could be available and there may happen a disaster without any early warning. Now we move to another topic which is known as crisis management plan and standard operating procedures. In accordance with National Crisis Management Plan 2003 of the Cabinet Secretariat, Ministry of Home Affairs has formulated its Crisis Management Plan 2004 and circulated it to all states and union territories. The Crisis Management Committee of Ministry of Home Affairs comprises of two parts. Part 1 deals with aspects which are common to all contingencies situations, and Part 2 about the individual standard operating procedures for dealing with a specific crisis situation. Standard operating procedures are preparedness plan which emerges and activates the procedure for response on receipt of calamity or receipt of figures of impending disaster. It identifies the financial and administration powers to the people made responsible for the procedure. The state government had been advised to formulate a similar kind of CMP, that is Crisis Management Plan and Standard Operating Procedures. Ministry of Home Affairs has conducted a number of training workshops for the states and union territories for assisting them in formulation of the standard operating procedures. Now, what is the role and responsibility of central and state governments? Ministry of Home Affairs is the nodal ministry for management of natural disasters other than drought, hailstorm and pest attack, which are handled by Ministry of Agriculture on behalf of the Government of India. Disaster Management Division, that is in short DM Division, performs the function in the Ministry of Home Affairs. The central and state governments are jointly responsible for undertaking relief, rehabilitation, preparedness, mitigation and response measures. The basic responsibility for undertaking these measures in the event of a disaster rests with the concerned state governments. The central government supplements the efforts of the state government by providing logistic and financial support in case of natural calamities of severe nature. The logistic support includes disaster management in India, deployment of aircrafts and boats, specialist teams of armed forces, central paramilitary forces, and personnel of National Disaster Response Force, arrangements for relief materials and essential commodities including medical stores, restoration of critical infrastructure facilities including communication network, and such other assistance as may be required by the affected states to meet the situation effectively. Disaster Management Division of Ministry of Home Affairs closely monitors the disaster and disaster-like situation to facilitate strategic interventions in the form of logistic and financial support by the Government of India to augment the resources of the affected states and union territories to deal effectively with each disaster situation. For this purpose, close liaison is made with the affected states on the one side and concerned central line ministries such as Ministry of Health, Ministry of Defense, Ministry of Civil Aviation, Food and Civil Supplies, etc. on the other. Then what is the role of the state government? In the context of federal setup of India, the responsibility to formulate the government's response to a natural calamity is essentially that of the concerned state government. However, the central government, with its resources, physical and financial clout, does provide the needed help and assistance to buttress relief efforts in the wake of major natural disasters. The dimensions of the response at the level of national government are determined in accordance with the existing policy of financing the relief expenditure and keeping in view the factors like first, gravity of a natural calamity, second, scale of the relief operation necessary, and third, requirements of central assistance for augmenting the financial resources at the disposal of the state government. Most of the states have relief commissioners under the Department of Disaster Management who are in charge of the relief measures in the wake of natural disasters. In the absence of relief commissioner, the chief secretary or an officer nominated by him is in overall charge of the relief operations in the concerned state. At the state level, the State Relief Commissioner supervises and controls relief operations through collectors or deputy commissioners who are the main functionaries to coordinate the relief operation at district level. The state governments are autonomous in organizing relief operations in the event of natural disasters and in developing the long-term rehabilitation measures. The state government's efforts are supplemented by the central government based on the recommendations of the Finance Commission. Now, what is the State Crisis Management Committee? It is State Crisis Management Group. There is a State Crisis Management Group under the chairmanship of Chief Secretary and Relief Commissioner. This group comprises senior officers from the Departments of Revenue and Relief, Home, Civil Supplies, Power, Irrigation, Water Supply, Panchayat, that is local self-government, Agriculture, Forest, Rural Development and Health, Planning, Public Works and Finance. The State Crisis Management Group is required to take into consideration the guidance received from time to time from Government of India and formulate action plans for dealing with different natural disasters. It is also the duty of the Relief Commissioner of the state to establish an emergency operations center, that is the control room at state headquarters, as soon as a disaster situation develops. Besides having all updated information on forecasting and warning of disaster, the Emergency Operations Center would also be the contact point for the various concerned agencies. Now, what is the role of district administration in this case? First, the district administration is the focal point for field level organizations. It is responsible for implementation of all government contingency plans. Considerable powers have therefore been vested upon the district collector to carry out operations in the shortest possible time. Second, the district administration in the country is required to prepare an advanced contingency plan depending on the type of disasters likely to affect the district. Contingency plans are to follow a framework as laid down nationally, which comprises type of preparedness, the relief material required to be mobilized, and the concerned departments that needs to work together and provide an efficient feedback and monitoring system. Third, the district magistrate exercises coordinating and supervisory powers over functionaries of all the departments at the district level in the event of emergencies. During actual operations for disaster mitigation or relief, the powers of the collector are considerably enhanced, generally by standing instructions or orders on the subject or by specific government orders if so required. Sometimes the administrative culture of the state concerned permits, although informally, the collector to exercise higher powers in emergency situations, and the decisions are later ratified by the competent authority. Fourth, District Relief Committee. The district level Relief Committee consisting of official and non-official members including the local legislators and the members of parliament reviews the relief measures. Now we discuss the role of sub-district administration. A district is subdivided into subdivisions and tehsils or talukas. The head of a subdivision is called the subdivisional officer, that is SDO, while the head of a tehsil is generally known as the tehsildar. Contact with the individual villages is through the village officer or patwari, who has one or more villages in his charge. When a disaster is apprehended, the entire machinery of the district, including officers of technical and other departments, swings into action and maintains almost continuous contact with each village in the district threatened area. That is all for now. Before I sign off, do tune in for my next videos. Please share this video with your friends and subscribe in large numbers. We would request you to enroll for UPSC Prelims cum Mains Examination 2021 and Prelims cum Mains Examination 2022. We really appreciate your encouragement and constructive suggestions. Stay awesome until then. Thanks.